this question period was so awesome. We didn't know which one. We recommend you watch the whole thing. We think it was Aaron O'Toole's best day. But these are the stars that we chose for Safe Space Cafe of the day. And check out the whole question period on our live section of the comments. Check this out. We
Online
got MP
content
Harder.
that a Canadian creates in Canada is Canadian content, period. For the Liberal government to dictate which posts are visible and which ones are hidden based on some absurd rating of Canadianness is ridiculous. A TikTok dance, well, that's an 8 out of 10 in Canadianness, bump it up. Facebook post, 4 out of 10, bump it down. A tweet that promotes Liberal values, 10 out of 10, front page. If the Prime Minister genuinely wants to promote Canadian culture, why won't he let Canadians determine what that is?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-10 aims to level the playing field between creators and web giants. It requires big foreign streamers to provide information on their revenues in Canada, financially contribute to Canadian stories and music, and make it easier for individuals to discover our culture. The bill explicitly says that obligations apply to web giants only, not Canadian users. Web giants have gone unrelated for far too long. Our government has chosen to act.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
Experts are saying otherwise. Canadian culture should be determined by the Canadian people, not the government. To censor online content based on a narrow definition of Canadianness is an attack on the artists that this Prime Minister claims he supports. But don't take my word for it. Shirley Joseph is an advocate for Black content creators. She says the definition of, quote, Canadian content discriminates against Black creators, and Bill C-10 will actually prevent them from being able to leverage their voice. Interesting. Doesn't sound like an attack on web giants. Will the Prime Minister finally give up on this unwanted internet czar campaign and back off?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, protecting Canadian content, supporting Canadian artists is a long-standing way that we do things in Canada and have done things extraordinarily successfully. The requirements of broadcasters, whether it's television stations or radio stations, to promote Canadian artists is one of the things that has made the Canadian music scene, the Canadian teleproduction scene extremely successful in a world of increased encroachment by Hollywood. This is something that we need to extend to the web as things go increasingly digital, and these measures that apply to web giants and not Canadians is the right way.
A reset of where we're at. There has been a concern over on the opposition side that there is some sort of a cover-up or some hiding in documents that, in redacted documents that have been submitted. This. We also, as a government, suggested a special committee to provide oversight on COVID-19 spending. It's really important for the public to know that our government believes in transparency.
Millions of hours of Canadian content is uploaded onto the internet by Canadians every single month. But now the Prime Minister wants to pass a bill that would allow his Canadiana czar to determine what is Canadian enough. That czar will be able to manipulate algorithms to decide what people see when they open up their various online platforms. So this czar is going to have so much power. Can the Prime Minister tell us who, in fact, this czar will be?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, Conservatives demonstrate that they have no understanding and no appreciation of the Canadian cultural industry. The thousands upon thousands of jobs created by Canadian productions, the work done by Canadian YouTubers, the work done by Canadian musical artists and producers. These are the things that we are supporting in determining, in enforcing web giants to recognize and support Canadian content. Once again, Conservatives don't line themselves up with content creators or Canadians. They pick fights and look for conspiracy theories.
That's right.
Honourable Member for Carleton.
Well, I guess he'll have to censor this debate out of the record if he says it is misinformation, Mr. Speaker. It comes down to who decides. Who decides what Canadian content will be promoted. Even the Toronto Star ran this headline today. Canadian content creators feel left in the dark as Ottawa hits pause on proposed new internet law. They are worried that the regulation this government is bringing in will disadvantage entrepreneurial artists who are uploading their content online. So will the Prime Minister tell them who this information czar will be?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-10 aims to level the playing field between creators and web giants. It requires big foreign streamers to provide information on the revenues in Canada, financially contribute to Canadian stories and music, and make it easier for individuals to discover our culture. The bill explicitly says that obligations apply to web giants only, not Canadian users. Web giants have gone unregulated for far too long, and our government has chosen to act.
Honourable Member for Carleton.
Well, the Prime Minister got off message and got back onto his script. I congratulate him for that. Now he wants all Canadians to get on his script by giving an information czar over at the CRTC the power to decide what Canadians see and what they don't see. And that the problem here, Mr. Speaker, is that who decides? We believe Canadians as consumers and producers of content should be allowed to decide for themselves. He believes that a government czar should decide for them. Even his minister let the cat out of the bag on that on television over the weekend. So will the Prime Minister give us the name of this information czar?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, for decades, Canadian content has been protected and promoted by rules that the CRTC enforces around radio stations playing more Canadian music so as to support the Canadian music industry, of TV stations being able to, needing to put forward Canadian content to create opportunities for Canadian actors, screenwriters, directors, and crew to develop Canadian content. With the move towards a digital world, we need to make sure that streamers such as Netflix and YouTube are subject to the same requirements to support Canadian content creation. That's exactly what we're moving forward with.
I have rarely seen such hypocrisy before in my life, Mr. Speaker.
Unbelievable. Seriously,
Order.
Don't forget to like, dislike, subscribe, and comment. Safe Space Cafe. And always